Today, we're diving into a real head-scratcher from the world of amateur radio. It's a hobby filled with experimenters, for sure. But one question really stands out. Why on earth would you build an amplifier powerful enough to light up a small town just for your radio?
And this right here is the heart of the mystery. You've got operators pushing the full legal limit, a whopping 1,500 watts on some frequencies. But then, on the bands where your typical handheld radio lives, just 50 watts is considered a ton of power. So what's the deal?
So let's just put that power difference into perspective, okay? On the high-frequency, or HF bands, you can legally run up to 1,500 watts. But on the VHF and UHF bands, a 50-watt mobile radio is considered a powerhouse. That is a 30 times difference in power. It seems totally backward, but trust me, there's a fascinating reason for it.
All right, to get why anyone would even need more than 50 watts, we first got to see what's possible on the absolute extreme end of the scale. So let's take a peek inside one of these kilowatt monsters.
Check this out. This is a home-built 1 kilowatt amplifier from an operator, W6PQL. And the specs are they're mind-bending. It only takes 2 watts of input to get 1,000 watts out. That is some incredible gain. But look at the paradox here. The actual core of the amplifier, the part doing all the work, is tiny, 3 by 5 inches. But it has to be bolted to this massive slab of copper just to keep from melting itself into a puddle. And that contrast, this tiny little engine and its giant cooling system, that's a huge part of our story.
So how in the world do you generate all that power in such a tiny little space? Well, it's not magic. It's actually a piece of technology that completely revolutionized high-power radio engineering.
It all comes down to this one little component, the LDMOS transistor. You can think of it as the engine. You know, for decades, high-power amps used these big, fragile, and pretty inefficient vacuum tubes. LDMOS transistors just changed the entire game. Suddenly, you could get immense power from a tiny, super durable, solid-state package. And here, this really shows you the scale we're talking about. On the left, that's the LDMOS device itself. It's not much bigger than your thumbnail. And that single component, that's the powerhouse for the entire circuit board you see on the right. Literally everything else on that board is just there to support it, to feed it clean power, control it, and most importantly, keep it from destroying itself. Now, the real superpower of modern LDMOS is just how efficient it is. I mean, some of these things can be up to 90% efficient. What that means is for every 1,000 watts of electricity you pump in, 900 watts gets turned into actual radio waves. That leaves an incredibly small amount of energy wasted as heat. But small doesn't mean nothing. If you're pumping out 900 watts of radio signal, that leftover 10% is still 100 watts of pure heat, all concentrated on a tiny little silicon chip. This thermal image shows that heat just glowing bright red. We're talking about the same heat as an old 100-watt incandescent light bulb. And getting rid of all that heat? Well, that's the single biggest engineering challenge of all.
Okay, so we've seen the what, this incredible amplifier, and we've seen the how, the amazing LDMOS technology inside it. But that brings us right back to the biggest question of all. Why? Why would you do this?
Why go through all this trouble, all this engineering, for frequencies that are normally just limited to line of sight? Well, the answer is pretty simple. To do things that sound like they're straight out of science fiction. As one user in an online discussion put it so well, this isn't for chatting on your local repeater. This is for super specialized, weak signal work. And the most extreme example of that is something they call EME.
Yeah, you heard that right. Earth, Moon, Earth. These amplifiers are built to generate a signal so incredibly powerful, it can travel 250,000 miles to the moon, literally bounce off the rocks on the surface, and be heard by another station all the way back here on Earth. The signal that comes back is unbelievably faint, so you need every single last watt you can get. And other uses are just as wild, like bouncing signals off the ionized trails of meteors. This is basically the extreme sport of amateur radio.
But let's be real, bouncing signals off the moon is, well, it's a pretty niche thing. So let's look at why for 99% of radio communication on these bands, brute force power just isn't the right answer.
And here it is, the reality check, summed up perfectly by another user online. For everyday talking on these bands, there's something that is way, way more important than how many watts you're running. And it all just comes down to basic physics.
So here's the fundamental difference, right? Lower frequency HF signals can bounce off a layer in the atmosphere called the ionosphere. This lets them skip all the way around the curve of the Earth. So more power helps that signal survive the long trip. But VHF and UHF signals, they just punch right through the ionosphere and travel in a perfectly straight line. They are fundamentally line of sight. Pumping more power into your signal can't help it see through a hill or bend around the planet. For that, you need one thing: antenna height.
So unless you're actually aiming for the moon, building one of these amps is a massive, massive project for very little practical gain. The cost is sky high, the technical complexity is just immense, and for most operators out there, the actual need for one is basically zero. It's a very specialized tool for a very specific job.
And there's one last reason why using just enough power is always the smartest way to operate, and it brings us to some pretty classic radio slang.
You really don't want to be an alligator. It's an old ham radio term for somebody whose signal is so powerful they can be heard everywhere, but their receiver isn't sensitive enough to hear anybody replying. They're all mouth and no ears, and they can end up interfering with conversations they don't even know are happening. A balanced station is always the key. And the risks of messing around with this much power? They're enormous. This thing here is a protection board. Its only job is to protect that very expensive LDMOS transistor. A single, simple mistake, like transmitting into the wrong antenna or just pushing it too hard, can destroy that critical component in a literal flash. The stakes are incredibly high.
So, let's boil all this down. What's the key takeaway? Well, first, these kilowatt amplifiers aren't for your daily chit-chat. They are purpose-built for extraordinary goals, like talking to someone by bouncing your signal off the moon. Second, they're a great reminder that for almost all of us, height is might. Antenna height is way more important than raw power. And finally, and maybe most importantly, these projects really embody the true spirit of amateur radio: experimentation and pushing the absolute limits of what is possible.
And that really leaves us with a final thought, doesn't it? I mean, we live in an age of instant, effortless global communication. So what is that fundamental human drive that makes us want to build these incredible, complicated machines to overcome these immense challenges and to reach for the moon, quite literally, with our own two hands? It's really a testament to the enduring power of human curiosity. Thanks for tuning in.